weird sexist scene. Not sexist, that's not the right word, but like just a creepy scene where he's staring at Troy, tells her he's never seen a human woman before, and can I touch your hair? And it's gross. And it's definitely one of the times we get like a bit of the male gaze of the camera here, and it's just really staring at her, which is weird. He does say that he wants peace and unity between the Romulan Empire and the Federation, and then he has them raise the lights, and so now we do see him. He's bald, and he's obviously human. He's not Romulan or Reman. And Picard looks like pretty shocked to see him. And Shinzon goes into this whole story how he had Shaloff syndrome as a kid, and that it's a genetic disease. All the men in the family have it. At this point in the movie, at least when I was first watching it, it was not clear to me that he was a clone of Picard. I found this whole scene to be very confusing. I remember the first time I saw it. I don't know how you guys felt, but I was like, what is going on? I feel like I'm missing something. Like I should get
It seemed
this.
like the crew was reacting to something that we didn't see as an audience, for sure.
Exactly. Because then when he cuts his hand with the dagger and gives it to Picard, and he's like, oh, you're going to want this for testing. And I'm like,
testing for what?
Okay. And I'm like, I feel like I should know what's happening, but I don't know what's happening, and now I feel dumb. Why do I not understand this scene? And I don't know if that's how the director wanted it, or if it's just badly edited. I don't know.
Okay. Do you want to hear my thoughts on this scene?
Of course.
I just saw it. Okay.
Of course.
I have a lot. So, when I first saw this, so I have a lot of notes, is what I was saying. I have a lot of notes. He has, like, this weird, like, iridescent leather fetish, it looks like. Like, he's coming out dressed like Pinhead going to a disco or something. And that makes it even creepier with how he's talking to Troy, you know what I mean? It's like, ugh. And in that outfit, and it's all squeaking when he walks, like, what? But, I was kind of like, okay, I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but it's like, he's bald. Does this have something to do with Picard? And I see his face, I'm like, okay, I guess somehow they stole his sperm and made a Picard baby or something, I was like, I don't know. But whenever he, like, cuts his hand and says, you might need this, I was like, is their DNA gonna match? So I figured it out, but I promise I did not read anything about that. I hadn't heard anything about it because you all know that I don't sit around and talk about Star Trek, and you guys would be the only people I would sit around and talk about Star Trek with. But a thing I thought was funny is, he's like, computer, dim the lights, or whatever. And in 2002, they never would have thought, like, in 10 years' time that we'd be like, Alexa, order me some more milk.
It's true.
I mean, I was glad to see that some of the technology was a little more sleeker, because by 2002 we had like flat screen computers, monitors.
Dude, have you ever read the article about the 25 things that Star Trek invented?
Oh.
Yeah, it's like iPads, and it was like it's pretty good. They pretty much go into detail about them using props, and then that thing becoming a reality. Like 10, 15 years later. Some
of their handheld devices apparently didn't have apps, so they didn't invent apps because they'd have like 7 of them that all each did something different.
Sure.
Yeah, but I think flip phones is on that list. iPad for sure is on that list.
The original series, the communicators would flip like that.
Yeah, a flip phone. Yeah, for sure. It's a flip phone. I mean, Bluetooth. I mean, if you think about I think Bluetooth existed by the time Star Trek Next Generation came out, but like that, basically their communicators are Bluetooth devices. I mean,
no, I don't think Bluetooth existed in the 80s.
Did it? I don't even know. I thought maybe it did.
Now, have you all heard the story of Hedy Lamarr? She thought up of she was a actress, like, I don't know, 40s or whatever. I'm sorry if I get the time period wrong because I can't remember exactly, but she come up with this, like, frequency skipping stuff that we ended up turning into Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and stuff. So it was out there, but it wasn't. It was sort of like GPS. How GPS was around for a while, and just the military had it, and then everybody else had it. So,
right.
But yeah, it wouldn't be something that the writers of Star Trek would necessarily be like, "Oh yeah, look, I read about this," but they might have been able to read about it.
Yeah. No, that's a valid point. I did forget that Hedy Lamarr did kind of invent Bluetooth technology, just didn't know how to adapt it. Okay, where are we? So, okay, we go back on board the Enterprise. Dr. Crusher does her little testing, and she goes, guess what? It's a clone. And no one's quite sure how or why.
Favorite line in this entire, I laughed out loud, and it's terrible that I laughed out loud, and please forgive me, Patrick Stewart, but when she says, a hair follicle, I nearly died.
He must have got a hair follicle. Was it his last one? He doesn't have that many. I know. I had the same thought. Or a skin cell. Let's go with that. Probably a skin cell.
Hey, I'm still going with the sperm here.
You never know. Anything is possible in Star Trek. So back in the Romulan Senate, we find out that Shinzon is the one who assassinated the entire Senate, and now his supporters are like, so what's the plan, dude? And Shinzon's like, wouldn't you like to know? And they're like, yeah, we would. So can you tell us?
That's why we asked.
But anyway, he keeps basically promising them the moon, and they're like, all right, but you better deliver. We get a scene now, which to me is, again, a little troublesome. I don't get the scene. Commander Denatra stays behind. She wants to know, and she very sexily walks up to him, and she's like, what does the woman have to do to prove her loyalty? And I'm like, what is this about? And he says to her, you're not a woman, you're a Romulan. And I wrote, technically, they're both right. She is a woman and a Romulan. And he wants her to spy on this other commander for him. She says that she will, and he's like, oh, if you touch me again, I'll kill you. And she's like, cool beans. And then
Cool.
I remember that scene differently.
Yeah, I know. I'm paraphrasing. She's like,
okay.
Cool. Yeah, okay.
What's crazy is that she just automatically comes up I guess because she doesn't want him to kill her or have a reason to kill her, and she's just like, so what can we do around here? I'm going to do my best Mae West impression or whatever. Before he even asks her, to do anything, you know what I mean? It's not like he's like, will you do something for me? And then her go, oh yeah, what do you want? And then taking that wrong or whatever.
Very strange. I feel like...
not that I even think that would be better, but it was just weird.
I feel like this movie does what Trek sometimes has had a problem with, which is writing believable parts for women of how women would talk and act. And I just feel like, why would this woman, who we know,
strong woman has to be pussy galore or something.
Exactly. But we know nothing about her. We just know that she's a commander. We don't know anything beyond that of her. But the first thing she does is imply that she'll offer sexual favors to get in his good graces. There's zero setup to that moment, where at least if there had been setup, if he had made an overture, or if there had been some establishing that, oh, this is just the way things are done in our government. Not that I would have made it right, but at least we would have understood why she right away, offers, I don't know. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me.
It doesn't really make any sense, really, because she's already, at the beginning of the movie, she's killed the entire Senate for this guy because she believes in him. So there's obviously some kind of dialogue, and there's obviously a lot of interaction that she's had with this guy. So she has to know his disgust for Romulans, and that whatever ploy she was about to do had no chance of working whatsoever. And she seems like she's a little bit smarter than that to already be in the position that she's in. So the scene itself, even in the context of the actual script and the movie, did not make sense.
No, not at all.
Yeah, 100%. And I really, this is as much as I love my Star Trek, there sometimes are problematic ways that they write with female characters, and we're going to see a lot of that coming up in a future scene.
Well, it's like a Greek tragedy where you don't actually know anything that happens except for the chorus tells you, but somehow the chorus is gone, so we still don't know what's happened before this, because there's no context to why she would even try to seduce him, even if she just wanted to make sure she lit. Like we don't know that, and just like Steve said, she seems a lot smarter than that.
Right.
Threatening before she came on to him, which she hadn't been, and then she comes on to him, and then he's threatening. Like she doesn't seem to. There's just no context for it. It comes out of nowhere, and it's problematic. She's Romulan. She could kick his ass anyway.
Yeah, exactly. There's really not a lot of establishing how the Remans are physical strength compared to the Romulans. We know that Vulcans, Romulans, Klingons are all incredibly more strong than human beings, but we don't know how the Remans are. They don't establish that. And I just feel, and not that he's a Reman, he's a human. She could absolutely kick his ass because she is physically stronger than him.
And it doesn't even matter that he's sick, and we don't know that yet.
Right.
Part of the reason why he probably wouldn't want to have anything to do with anybody anyway, and doesn't want anybody touching him because he's weak and frail and doesn't want anybody to know that.
Yeah. No, for sure. And we do get a hint of that, of course, at the end of this scene where she leaves and he kind of doubles over in pain. And, she's like, wonder what that's about. And, of course, we don't
most conveniently see-through doors.
Yes, very convenient. I agree. There's a lot of convenient things in this movie. We get a quick little scene here where B4 is kind of hanging out in Data's quarters. He's petting Spot. And then suddenly, something clicks in him, like a switch flips. He stands up and he walks over to the computer and he starts, clickety-clacking away, and he's hacked into the computer. Obviously, we don't know what's going on yet. Here's another MacGuffin to the story, but he's probably not up to anything good here. Then we get this kind of extended scene, which I actually like this scene a whole lot. I think it's one of the better scenes in the whole movie for me, where Shinzon and Picard are having dinner. It's just the two of them. He does tell Picard how he came to be, that basically at some point, the Romulans got a hold of some of Picard's DNA. They made a clone of him. They were going to grow him until he was the same age as Picard. And then they were going to replace Picard with this clone as a Romulan agent in the heart of the Federation. But apparently a new government comes in and they cancel that plan. And they say, we can't have this clone running around, so let's go stick him on Remus, where he'll probably die in the dilithium mines.
Does anybody else think of this as when the bad guy expouts his plan to the bad guy in a movie?
We'll get lots of that too coming up, but it's definitely
his plan. He's telling the bad Romulan guy's plans. And then later he's going to explain his own plan. Anyway.
Also, I don't understand. Why wouldn't they just have killed him? That seems ridiculous. We made this clone, but we're not going to use it. I'll just use my disruptor and kill it. Problem solved. I don't know why they put him in the dilithium mines. It doesn't, but whatever. That's because the plot says that that's what happened. So
just go with it.
Yeah, exactly, right. And then basically, they thought he'd die there. He doesn't die, obviously. He talks about how the man who would become his viceroy basically took him in, befriended him, cared for him. We do get kind of a weird slow motion flashback here. The use of slow-mo in this movie is very questionable to me, but he says that his motivation is always to free all Remans. Like, that's the only thing on his mind. And I do like that he asks Picard questions about the Picard family. Like, he wants to know who he is. He wants to know about the blood that runs through his veins. You tell me more about our family. Are we explorers? Do we worry a lot?